And hi everybody, welcome into the Cedar Crest High School. We're ready for a rematch of this game that we saw 16 days ago. The Falcons and the Black Knights ready to square off, this time in Lebanon. The Knights coming in at 12-4. The Falcons coming in at 10-8. Black Knights are 9-0 in league play. The Cedar Crest Falcons, they're 7-2. We'll explain what those numbers mean in just a sec, but first, we're glad you're watching here on HST TV 7. I'm Kasey Kreider. To the right of me is Lanc. To the right of me is our producer tonight, Sarah Vanderlaud. The gang is all here and we're ready to go for Chapter 2 of this Section 1 matchup. Just as much on the line in this game as there was in the first. Lance, I'll tell you what, this Hempfield girls team, they've had an outstanding season. They come into the night riding a 7-game win streak, and they continue their undefeated run at the top of Section 1. What a season this has been for the Knights. They will clinch an LL League playoff spot tonight with a victory over Cedar Crest.
Yeah, Kasey, they've been absolutely phenomenal this season. And riding off the backs of seniors Lindsay Dakota and Lauren Riggs, they've had an absolutely phenomenal season. But I just want to give huge credit to the younger players on the team, such as players Lauren Moffitt and Autumn Cook.
Yeah, they've had great seasons as freshmen. We'll see them tonight. Meanwhile, for Cedar Crest, they've been in a slump lately. They lost to Township. They had a double overtime nail-biter against Penn Manor that they just pulled out. And they've had two crucial District 3 losses earlier this week to both Dallastown and Reading. That puts the Falcons on the outside looking in right now in the District 3 playoff race. They're ranked number 13. 12 teams get in. And with games against Penn Manor and Township still to come, Cedar Crest, they might need this game to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, no doubt, Kasey. And just as Hempfield's team is a bit more young, Cedar Crest team is actually very young as well, having only one senior on their entire roster this year.
One senior, 3 freshmen. You know, Lance, I may not have 20/20 vision, but I think the two number 20s on the court tonight are going to have a big impact on tonight's game. Let's start with Lindsay Dakota for Hempfield. She had what she was calling a career game when these two teams met the first time, had 17 points, including hitting 7 of 8 free throws. They were clutch at the end of this thing. Hempfield will need another big game from her tonight to beat Cedar Crest.
Yeah, Kasey, and Lindsay Dakota, I must say, is a force to be reckoned with. Every time she drives to the paint, she's always somebody that the Cedar Crest team is looking for. So we'll just have to see if she continues her hot streak tonight.
Meanwhile, the other number 20, this one for Cedar Crest, Reese Glover, the junior, has had an outstanding season, but she got shut down by the Black Knights when these two teams met in Landisville, had only 8 points on the night. In fact, didn't score from the field until 2:30 left in the fourth quarter of that game. She struggled big time when those two teams met off the defense that Dakota brought for her. What's the game plan for her tonight?
Well, Kasey, obviously now she has home court advantage on her side. She has the fans at her back, and obviously this is a must-win game for Cedar Crest. So hopefully she'll be playing tonight with a sense of urgency.
This game features 3 of the top 5 shooters, 3-point shooters in Section 1. We've talked about Reese Glover, her proficiency shooting. Remember, she didn't have any 3-pointers in that first game. She has 33 though in the season. That's good for first in Section 1. Her teammate Sarah Laney had a huge game when these two teams met the first time, put up 20 points. She's 4th in the LL League in 3-pointers, and Autumn Cook is nipping at her heels with 17 and 5th. So with 3 of the top 5 shooters in Section 1 here tonight from beyond the arc, this could be a heck of a game from the perimeter.
Yeah, no doubt, Kasey. We're definitely going to be seeing the ball flying from the perimeter tonight. I think the key for both teams is trying to limit those shots from the perimeter all night.
No doubt about that. So we are getting ready to go here. Just a few minutes until tip-off. Teams, captains getting ready, meeting at midcourt. The shoot-arounds, the warm-ups are ending. And we are about ready to go. It's the Hoops for Hope game for Hempfield tonight. Of course, the boys, they host Cedar Crest, but they're continuing that same theme here tonight against the Falcons. And as we've talked about the District 3 playoff rankings and how they look right now. Hempfield is ranked number 8 in those rankings, but they've got probably their toughest stretch of the season right here coming up with games tonight against Cedar Crest, tomorrow night against Governor Mifflin, a District 3 powerhouse, and then Tuesday, that much anticipated game against Manheim Township. This could be the toughest stretch of the season for these Black Knights.
Yeah, Kasey, and obviously our team has done very well so far this season, but it's this stretch that will define what they will be like for the rest of the season.
Yes.
If they can push through this final stretch well, I believe this sets them up well for the playoffs in the near future.
Well, we'll have to see. As I mentioned, they clinch a league playoff spot with a win tonight over the Falcons. So there's a lot to play for. We are in the stretch run of the girls' basketball season. For Cedar Crest, that big question is going to be, can they get Glover going tonight? Can they get some of their supporting cast going tonight? And that could be a similar question for the Black Knights as we're about ready. We'll take it down courtside for the starting lineups here in just a few seconds, then the national anthem, and then we will get ready to rock here in Lebanon. Going to be a fun one, no doubt about it. You take a look at the tail of the tape, these two teams, both at the top of the heap, both offensively and even defensively, but especially Hempfield. They've had a stifling defense this season, and we'll talk about that more later in the game. Here are the starters for the Knights.
Number 5,
Jess Waddle, the junior, did not play against McCaskey, but is back now. Lauren Riggs, the senior, back in the starting lineup. There's Lindsay Dakota. And Autumn Cook. What she got cooking up tonight, we'll see. And Lauren Moffitt. Head coach Kendra Merrifield, having by far her best season as a varsity coach. Here's the Cedar Crest lineup. The freshman Kaya Kamasta starts off the starting lineup. Sarah Laney, what she got for an encore in this one? Megan Shawley fouled out in this game last time they met. Hoping for a different result here. There is Reese Glover, what she got after an 8-point performance last time. And the senior Elizabeth Knapp. That's her starting lineup for Cedar Crest. Head coach Jim Donboyer for the Cedar Crest Falcons. And now let's rise for the national anthem. We're ready, and we hope you are too, for some Hempfield girls basketball on HSD TV7. Gonna be a fun one tonight. Alrighty, Lance. 3 of the past 4 years, including last season, Cedar Crest, they're the Section 1 champions. Tonight, they must win to keep their club hopes alive, or their Section 1 hopes at least alive. Meanwhile, Hempfield has not won a Section 1 championship in a decade and a half. So there's a lot to play for tonight, no doubt. You think the nerves, maybe, we talk about the young teams on both these sides. Can the nerves play an impact tonight?
Well, Kasey, I think obviously nerves can always play impact, but I think the players need to dig deep and just find their inner calm within this game. I think they need just to play good basketball, and hopefully they'll be able to pull it off for each of their teams.
Best defense in Section 1 versus second best offense in Section 1. We're ready to go. And as the PA announcer says, yeah, let's play some hoops. Here we go from Cedar Crest. And Hempfield, opening tip goes out of bounds there. And Hempfield, that'll get possession to Hempfield there. No, actually, Cedar Crest, my apologies. Glover will inbound it to Shawley. And they'll take it up for the first time tonight. Laney had 13 points in the first quarter of this first matchup. Here's the first three from Shali that just goes off the rim. And Kamasta gets the rebound. Back to Shali. Back to Glover. Out. Whiteout winds up on the ground. Here's Glover from three, off the mark. And Dakota gets the rebound. And out in front of the foot race, Lindsay Dakota puts it up to put the Black Knights on the board first in this one.
Hey, Kasey, if the Black Knights want to continue with this momentum, I believe they need to continue to.
And Dakota cut it off from Laney there, who got it out to Cook inside to Moffitt. She'll try and back in. Instead, pass out to Cook, who can't get it. And Reese Glover goes up at the net and gets the rebound. But a nice job by Lindsay Dakota there, forcing the pressure on Sarah Laney. And now it's Glover. Out to Kamasta. Shali. Guarded by Dakota. Shali drives and looks like Dakota got her hands on the ball there as there was a fight for it. Shali was trying to drive to the net, not able to draw the foul though. Shali, again, face guarded by Dakota. And that time a foul called on number 20. Pushing foul there on Dakota, first of the night.
Well, Kasey, we're obviously seeing Dakota definitely coming out with an aggressive defensive approach, trying to make these Cedar Crest girls uncomfortable early on.
Yep, we'll see if it works. Knapp. Back to Glover, who will drive. Glover trying to draw the foul, doesn't do it. Moffitt like a brick wall there, and it pays off. So Reese Glover tried to body her way in, couldn't do it. Lauren Moffitt was right there, and ultimately it goes back to Hempfield. Cedar Crest running more of a press this time than what we saw in the first game. A little bit interesting to see that change in defensive philosophy here. But Hempfield gets it up court, and Moffitt taking a look. Back to Dakota, back to Riggs. Riggs back in the starting lineup after a brief Bryn Axe spell. Nice take by Jess Weidel to get to the net. And Weidel has really come on past couple of games. The junior, you know, she might not be as good of a shooter as Autumn Cook, and she might not be as good defensively as Autumn Cook just ran over Sarah Laney. As good defensively as Dakota or Moffitt, but you look at her almost as more of a jack of all trades. She can do a little bit of everything, and she can do it all very well.
Yeah, Kasey, and Weidel, obviously early on coming off the bench, but I think she's really proven that she's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Weidel was a starter on this team last season, did not begin the season as a starter, but now has entrenched herself in that role. Foul called on Autumn Cook that time. Cedar Crest blanked off the scoreboard through 2:15 here in Lebanon. Shali, back to Kamasta. Kamasta getting one of her first starts of her freshman season tonight. Another three from Shali, and it got nothing but nylon on the way down. Just what Cedar Crest needed.
And Kasey, just as we predicted, we've been seeing that ball fly from the three-point line.
Cedar Crest, they can shoot this ball. Shali's got 14. Nice pass from Dakota inside to Cook, but it doesn't go. And Shali taking it up again. Shali has 14 three-pointers made. That would be close to the top for a lot of teams. That's number 3, though, on Cedar Crest alone. As a shooting foul is called there. And we'll see Reese Glover for the first time tonight from the line. That was the one thing Glover did do well in the first matchup. She went 4 for 4 from the line when they met the first time. And despite the music there, which I'm not sure that was planned, she can put it through no problem to tie this thing up.
And as I said before, Kasey, I think the key for both teams will be the three-point line, either stopping it or making the threes.
Yep. And that time they do, and Moffitt right there. Johnny on the spot for the rebound, 4-4, as we're just under 3 minutes into this game. Dakota. You're the fans, and that's a pretty good sentiment. Be smart, be patient, but then they give it away. Kamasta off the fast break. Dakota trying to get down there and fouls Kamasta on the way up. Non-shooting foul, but a great job by the freshman Kaya Kamasta to get in there and cut it off as Dakota was trying to get over to Autumn Cook.
And that's just a lapse of mind for Dakota. She obviously did not mean to make that mistake, but good hustle coming back and committing a good foul to stop the easy bucket.
Bryn Axe will come in now for Dakota. So Dakota, her second foul already in this game. She's got to come out early. That's what you want to see from Hempfield's best player. 2 fouls in just over 3 minutes. And now it's Glover, inbound to Knapp. 32 on 32, Knapp on Moffitt. Out to Shally. Takes a look, thought. Axe trying to apply the pressure. Shally gets back on it. And Shally, little backdoor pass inside Laney, and everybody was there. And looks like that foul might go against Bryn Axe early on. Hempfield committing a lot of fouls here.
Foul number 13, Riggs.
That one's actually calling on Riggs. That is Hempfield's 5th foul in less than 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, Kasey, and obviously you have to limit fouls early on in the game because you don't want your best players to be going out on very quick fouls.
Not just that, you don't want to get in the bonus in the first quarter. Hempfield could be in that predicament here in a little bit. Laney misses both of them though, so it remains a tie game. And Cook now taking it up, down court to Riggs, who is called for a travel and doesn't quite agree with it. Emily Hocker comes in. We did not see Hocker in the first match between these two teams, but she's in here and she gets the call. Off the inbound from Glover, now Glover back to Shally. And Shally driving all the way, baseline to Kamasta, and Axe trying to corral it, couldn't quite do it in bounds.
Well, Kasey, so far we've seen a very active Hempfield defense.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot more defense than what we saw the first time these two teams met. When they met last time, we saw 32 points combined in the first quarter alone. It was 17-15 Cedar Crest. We've seen 8 so far. This is looking more like Township. Shally, inside. Glover, trying to get there and does. How about that off-balance shot by Reese Glover? Gives Cedar Crest their first lead of the night.
And that was excellent body control by Glover there, Kasey.
Kamasta nearly cut that off, and Cook got in front of it instead. And now Alex trying to baseline drive. And there was contact with the Cedar Crest player. But the early story has been not only the defenses, but the fouls committed by Hempfield. 5 in the first half of the first quarter. Cook looking. Riggs driving, and Weinholt. Riggs is able to lead Weinholt there over Emily Hocker. And now we'll see. It's like they call a foul on Hocker. First of the game for Cedar Crest. Weinholt's got to be careful. And you could tell, you could see the look in her face as she knew that time was running out, but nobody came open. That's a 5-second violation, and Cedar Crest retains or will get possession back.
Yeah, and great defensive possession there for Cedar Crest, cutting off the angles for Weinholt.
Oh, look at that press! Moffitt and Axe both there to force the steal. Cook there for the rebound, and now Hempfield gets back to work. Moffitt driving and foul. And we'll see Lauren Moffitt from the line for the first time tonight. Moffitt coming in 63% from the line. And Lauren Moffitt's done a great job, especially on the offensive side, past couple of games. Granted, so is the rest of this Hempfield team. I'll get into that more in a second. Here's the shot from Moff. First one goes through. And so does number 2. Tie game, 6-6. So Hempfield, you might be asking, well, what's happened since the last time we saw them here on HST TV 7 in that game against Township? They've played 3 games since then. One was a game against an LL League opponent, but classified as a non-league match since Donegal was in Section 14. But who says Hempfield can't play offense? They put up 67 that night. 67-36 is the final score. That one. Then they went on the road against McCaskey, and despite being down early, came back. Here's a 3 from Shally that's off the mark. Came back despite being down after the first quarter to win that one handily, 51-24. And then that pesky Penn Manor team came into Landisville and gave them a run for their money. It was a 10-point lead at one point. It was double digits at one point early in the first half. Double dribble call there on Autumn Cook. But Penn Manor brought it back to within 2 in the fourth quarter. Hempfield eventually got a little bit of breathing room, won it by 7. in the end, 40-33. And that's how Hempfield has preserved what is now a 7-game win streak entering this final 6-game stretch of the season. Here's Kamasta. Back. Glover. Looking to drive. Bounces out of the rim. And Axe is there for the rebound.
Yeah, Kasey, and as you were saying, I believe that when this Hempfield girls team clicks, they're almost unstoppable.
Yeah. Especially with what they can do defensively. As we've mentioned, holding teams to an average of 32.3 points per game through their 16 matches this season. 16 of 22. This game number 17. Axe taking it up. Inside. Moffitt trying to turn Laney around and not able to get to the bucket. Glover will come to inbound it. What I've seen tonight, though, and there again, Axe cuts in front of Kamasta. That's what I was just going to say. We've seen more full-court presses tonight by both these teams than we saw in the prior matchup. Knowing that maybe defense is the way to get the edge tonight after the highly offensive-heavy first game, as Axe had an open layup but couldn't hit it.
Well, yeah, Kasey, the Hempfield defense so far has just not been giving the Cedar Crest team any room to breathe. Even on the inbounds, they've been right up in their faces.
Shawley, another shot from 3. Doesn't go, but Kamasta gets the rebound, and she can't get it either, so Autumn Cook is there on the spot. She'll take it across midcourt and go to work with under 90 seconds to go in quarter number 1, 6-6. The score early on, not nearly as much offense as we saw the first time when these two teams met in Landisville. Axe looking, has to be careful. Weinel to Cook. Trying to square up Kamasta instead. Passes out to Moffitt. Gonna try and set something up here. Down to 60 seconds. Weinel to Riggs. Trying to set up Moffitt, who tried to get tall but couldn't get it. And now gonna call a jump ball, which will keep possession with Hempfield.
And Kasey, great defensive possession there for Cedar Crest. They just didn't allow any looks on the inside for Hempfield.
So speaking of freshmen, Nicole Wise comes in. We saw a lot more of her. She actually started when these two teams met the first time. But having to see how this Hempfield offense can do without Lindsay Dakota in there for right now, as it looks like they're keeping her on the bench after 2 early fouls. Want to try and preserve her for a potential late game run if they need her. You don't want to have her fouling out at the end. Weinel shooting some clock. Go on, Lance.
Yeah, Kasey, Dakota is such a force on both sides of the ball that losing her would be a huge blow to the Hempfield girls team.
Weinel had a mental error there. Looks like she bounced it off her knee there, and it almost went out of play. She's able to get back on it, and now she's trying to knife through everybody and get it out to Moffitt. To Riggs. To Cook, who thought now drives, and from the foul line. It bounces through at the buzzer! Alrighty. Well, isn't that reminiscent of what we saw the first time? Lindsay Dakota had a buzzer-beating layup at the end of the first quarter to cut the deficit to 17-15. How things change, how they stay the same. Autumn Cook. That one bounced a few times, but it gives Hempfield the lead, 8-6 here in the second. And already, Lance, not near as much offense, but what did you like that you saw in that first quarter, starting from Hempfield?
Well, obviously, Kasey, the big thing that we saw from Hempfield was just huge defensive pressure from the beginning to the end.
All right, how about Cedar Crest?
Cedar Crest, they've also given a great amount of defensive pressure throughout. They've been able to allow Hempfield to commit mental errors throughout the game and also just continually throwing the ball up from 3.
Tell you what, how many shots have we seen like that it seems like they bounced off the rim 3 or 4 times. I feel like we've seen that at least once in every game this season from somebody, and that time it was Cook to give the Black Knights the advantage, 8-6, and now we'll see what they do in quarter number 2. And looks like Lindsay Dakota will again start on the bench here, so keep the same 5 in.
And Kasey, I think they're trying to preserve Dakota mainly for the second half.
No doubt. I think that's the goal at this point. I know ideally they want her to be more involved, but they don't want her to foul out when they might really need her if this game comes down like the barn burner it was the first time. All right, here we go. Quarter number 2 beginning. Glover on the inbound to Shally. Megan Shally took 3 shots from beyond the arc, connected on the first one, or connected on one of them, did not connect on the other 2. Shally trying to set up Laney over the middle and couldn't do it. So Hempfield gets another opportunity. We've seen that a couple times tonight, Lance, with just trying to set up people in the paint and basically win the height game. Hasn't paid off to this point. Here's Riggs, cross court to Axe. Taking it up slow. Cook trying to drive inside. Axe trying to drive too and gets it blocked by Glover. Brent Axe trying to take it to the net, but Reese Glover was right there to deny her. Now out to Shally, who will try again, and that one won't go. And it's Moffitt there for the rebound.
And not so many threes taken on the Hempfield side, Kasey. I think we've definitely been seeing them try to push through the paint.
We haven't seen a single 3, I don't think, in this one so far from Hempfield. But we've seen about 4 or 5 from Cedar Crest.
Definitely.
And we know Cedar Crest is potent shooting from beyond the arc, but not tonight. Moffitt drives and bounces through.
And I'll tell you what, Kasey, Lauren Moffitt is a brick on the defensive end and a bulldozer on the offensive end.
Yeah, no doubt about that one, Lance. Man, what an impact she's had this season. As Wise trying to get it down court. Axe is right there, gets it over to Hawker, back to Wise, back to Hawker from 3, and that one's off the mark as well. So Cedar Crest is like, what, 1 of 6 from beyond the arc so far. Long pass down the court as Cook was trying to go all the way down to Brent Axe.
And it doesn't look like Cedar Crest is slowing down anytime soon from shooting down from the 3.
Sarah Batra comes in. Batra's been on a bit of a cold streak lately. She was one of this team's top scorers before the game against Hempfield, but only had 2 points that night and started tonight on the bench. Hawker to Glover to Wise. Cross court and gives it right to Autumn Cook. Autumn Cook dipped in the cookie jar and look what she found. And now Riggs from 3 short. And that one looked like it came out a little funky to begin with. Riggs had 2 threes in the game against McCaskey. She's got, I believe, 3 on the season, but couldn't connect that time. Wise. Cross gets it over the outstretched arms of Moffitt to Glover to Hawker. Down court to Betra from 3. Can they connect that time? No, but Cedar Crest gets the rebound. And Wino gets there on Glover. Who now tries to back in. Look out to Hawker. Hawker driving inside. Glover driving, trying to spin Wino around, and doesn't get it to go. So even though Reese Glover had 3 early points, despite having nothing in the first half when these two games had the first time, Hempfield has continued to shut her down.
And Kasey, at this point, I believe Cedar Crest is just missing some very makeable shots.
Yeah, very true. You could have made that same argument for Hempfield early on in this game. Now they're hitting those shots. Cedar Crest isn't. That's the difference right now. A 4-point difference as Axe tried to drive, and for the second time tonight, Glover takes it at the rim from Brett Axe. And now across court, Hawker from inside the arc. Doesn't go, and Moffitt. Out jumps Batra. Cedar Crest on a cold streak here. They have not scored in this quarter. As Cook gets it in there to Wino. Wino looking and fouled. As Wino tried to get to the bucket.
Now, Kasey, you have to wonder if now you tell Cedar Crest, you tell the team, all right, guys, we're down. Let's go for the easy shots and not take so many shots outside the arc.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, Cedar Crest, I mean, when you're on, but so far tonight, the Falcons have not been on, and it shows on the scoreboard. As Axe looks, gets it to Wino, back to Cook. And after committing 5 fouls early on in the first 3 minutes of this game, Hempfield has not committed one since then. Wino looking across to Riggs. Axe cross, Weinelt. Looking, finds Cook. And for the first time tonight, she'll load up and fire, and it's off the mark. But Axe gets the rebound. Bryn Axe blanketed out to Riggs. Thought about that one too. Now it's Cook. Like time standing still here in Lebanon, it seems like, as Cook and Riggs and everyone outside tries to ponder what to do with the ball. Now it's Axe, who tries to spin Sholly around. Nice screen set by Moffitt. Wow!
Beautiful play there, Kasey. Wow. Absolutely beautiful screen from Moffitt.
That is the definition of what a screen should be right there, and it works. Hempfield is on an 8-0 run over the Falcons. Here's Sholly. Pass to Wise, who keeps it in, but gets it back to Weidel. Nice effort by Nicole Wise to keep it in bounds, but unfortunately it was just Weidel and not one of her teammates right there. And now that's a foul on Weidel, another one. And Sarah Laney can do nothing but laugh. She doesn't agree with it, but the refs don't care. Foul is called on Batra there, but Laney was not happy about it.
And Kasey, the Knights right now are just on fire. Cedar Crest needs to find some way to be able to stop them.
Weinelt misses the first time. She entered the night 59% from the free throw line. Kamasta comes in again for Cedar Crest. Man, oh man, do they need this game. We talked about it in the open before the game tipped off. That one doesn't go either. But man, oh man, does Cedar Crest need this one? They have 3 more games remaining after tonight against all 3 of the other Section 1 opponents. But we talked about the Penn Manor game, and we talked about how they got pummeled by Township the first time those 2 teams met. How about Cook slicing through the defense? But hits the iron at the back there and doesn't go. Glover taking it up. 3 minutes to go in the half. Cedar Crest has still not scored this quarter, and they still haven't scored this quarter, as Batra can't connect.
Now, Kasey, I believe this is now when you need to slow the game down for Cedar Crest. We've had a few bad shots. Now we need to get some good shots to get right back into this game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Cook to Moffitt. Axe trying to cut inside. So too is Weinelt. Instead, she'll dip it out to Riggs. Cook pulls up, gets her own rebound. Still can't put it through. Tries again. Third time is not the charm, and Batra gets there. Finally, as Autumn Cook had a few shots and just couldn't quite put them through. Kamasta. Glover overshot Sarah Laney, with Lauren Riggs blanketing her.
And Kasey, I think at this point it's starting to get ugly. Honestly, I'm surprised that the lead isn't bigger at this point.
Yeah.
Hempfield needs to start making some of those easy shots.
After this game, it was such an offensive explosion the first time. We've seen more, I don't even know if I want to call it a defensive explosion, just almost a comedy of errors offensively. Really, for both these teams, obviously, Hempfield's made more shots, but even they have had some easy shots that they've just quite simply missed.
Yeah, at this point, Kasey, I believe it's just being able to make and knock down your shots. I believe whoever can do that will end up winning this game.
Well, we shall see. It's timeout taken here with 2:06 to go in half number 1. Can Cedar Crest get something going here? As I've mentioned, not only have they not scored this quarter, but it was a while back into the first quarter since they last scored. It's probably actually been more than a quarter of game time since they have scored after getting off to that early run.
And Kasey, we've just seen just a string of bad shot selection.
Yeah.
A panic is starting to creep in, and with that panic comes bad decisions. So you need to just breathe, calm down, and start making better decisions.
Yeah, no doubt. We talk about what's on the line again. If you weren't, if you weren't with us in the open, what are you doing? Skipping past the open. But if you did skim through that, I'll remind you, if Hempfield wins tonight, they lock up an LL League playoff spot. They're chasing their first LL League playoff title since 2008. Ironically, that's a short amount of time since the last time they won the Section 1 regular season title. That was back in 05, when they also went on to win won the league title that year. Start to wonder if this team gives you shades of those 2 teams that were league titleists. Axe to Moffitt. We still have not seen Lindsay Dakota since about midway through the first quarter. And as we mentioned, we suspect it's because of those 2 early fouls. They want to try and preserve her. And right now, with what Hempfield's doing, I mean, they're not missing her right now. They're holding up the slack.
Yeah, no doubt, Kasey. And you have to think they can only get better with Dakota back in the game.
No doubt. Meanwhile, Cedar Crest is here at full strength, and they've only mustered 6 points through 14 and a half minutes of game time. As it's Axe. Looks like Hempfield trying to chew a little clock now, and now Axe sees a chance to drive, and is fouled on her way to the net.
You're too quick for her, Brad. Keep it up.
And so far, we've just seen aggressive pushing to the paint for Hempfield.
Yeah, no doubt. Glover called for the foul. Axe only 33% shooting from the line this season. And cannot get that one to go either. She'll have one more chance, though. And that one, again, very similar. Goes right off the rim, and Batra is there. And actually, Autumn Cook is called for a push there before anything, but it doesn't matter. It's Cedar Crest ball. That does give Hempfield an extra foul, though. They're now at 6. Cedar Crest is at 5. So Hempfield, no more fouls to give before they're in the bonus. But we'll see if that matters with 1:10 to go in half number 1. As it's Laney, who does not have any points in this game after having 20 the first time these two teams met. She's been blank tonight. But then again, so is the rest of Cedar Crest's offense, or most of it. Here's Wise off the mark. And again, Lance, those 3-point shots just haven't been good. And now we see Molly McGarry come in for Autumn Cook. And McGarry will get it. McGarry comes in for Cookstead and plays a very similar role to Cook. Haven't seen a lot of the senior this year, but she's very dynamic, so we'll see. She passes out to Riggs here. Riggs also has a great arsenal, and so too does Weinhold. That's a lot of the theme of the Hempfield team. They can do a little bit of everything, even if there's one thing they specialize in, as Weinhold is fouled there.
And we're starting to see some mounting frustration from the Cedar Crest team,
Yeah,
Kasey.
I was gonna say, again, Sarah Laney, who that time is called for the foul, just does not look happy with it. Cedar Crest has out-fouled Hempfield 6-1 since that early 5-foul run. And that time Weinhold sinks it. Wow. So Cedar Crest is 32 seconds away from being blanked on the scoreboard in this second quarter. I don't think that's what we expected tonight.
Definitely not, Kasey. We expected to see pretty high scoring and not this defensive battle.
Weinhold misses, but Moffitt gets the rebound. And that's Weinhold out to McGarry. Weinhold rigs, and it goes through her hands. Couldn't quite corral it. That's the thing. I mean, Hempfield, obviously, they play good defensively, but offensively, they've made their share of mistakes right now, and I'd almost venture to say they're a little lucky to be up right now, even though they have definitely outplayed Cedar Crest to this point. And it's Moffitt getting tall again on Betra. And now, coming to the end, it's McGarry who overshoots Lauren Riggs with under 10 seconds to go in the half as they were trying to get down court and get one last shot at it. Hempfield will retain the ball, though.
And just as you said, Kasey, Hempfield definitely has some lucky breaks throughout this entire game.
Well, it was a buzzer beater at the end of the first quarter. Can Hempfield try it again? Here's McGarry. Drive, pass, Riggs. Got it again! How about that?
Well, you called it, Kasey. A buzzer beater.
2 buzzer beaters in a row for the Knights. And it's 16-6 as we enter the half.
You definitely called it, Kasey. Just Riggs squared up, took the shot, and easily drained the three-pointer, which is something that we haven't seen much this entire game so far.
Man, oh man, what a first half that was. Hempfield 16-6, Cedar Crest blanked in the second quarter. And we'll be back to break it all down on the other side of the half, but Hempfield is rolling right now, 16-6. For my producer, Sarah Vanderlaw, and colleague Lance Kim, I'm Kasey Kreider. We'll be back on the other side. And hi everybody, welcome back to Lebanon and the Cedar Crest High School. We're ready to go for half number 2 of this crucial Section 1 matchup between the Black Knights and the Cedar Crest Falcons. And Black Knights will start with possession here in the third quarter. Lance, the biggest storyline so far tonight has been the really offensive inept ability of both of these teams, but especially Cedar Crest, who did not score at all in the second quarter.
Well, Kasey, I definitely was surprised. Cedar Crest, obviously coming into this game, had some of the top scorers within the league. Yeah. But within this game, they just haven't done much the entire time.
And they're coming in averaging 45.5 points per game. They've got 6 on the board so far and need a comeback, another comeback. They were down by 10, at as much as 10, as 1 point in the third quarter when these two teams met the first time. That's deficit right now. Hempfield's got the ball. Moffitt driving and Knapp gets there. And Cedar Crest will get it back here. So
and that's exactly what Hempfield needs to limit throughout this entire game. Just silly mistakes.
Yep. A win tonight, as I mentioned, it would really all but ensure a league playoff spot for Hempfield, and it would go a long way towards cementing their Section 1 championship hopes, as they would remain 2 games ahead of Township, who they'll play Tuesday after their grueling game tomorrow night, Keystone Cup game in Lower Dauphin against Governor Mifflin. So it's, as we've mentioned, a tough stretch for Hempfield, and they're passing the test tonight so far. And Glover is called for the foul on Dakota. Yeah, that was the matchup we saw a lot in this first game. Haven't seen as much tonight because Dakota hasn't been in there. She starts this third quarter, but she only played about 3 minutes in that first half after accumulating 2 early fouls. That's the other big story. She's back now, and an opportunity to add to the Hempfield lead.
Yeah, of course, Kasey. And I think right now she'll probably play most of the second half.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that too much. And she came into the night shooting 72% from the line, and she adds to that here. Ironically, on her 72nd foul shot of the season. Her 53rd make, 52nd, now that's 53. Don't ask me for the numbers, but just ask me for the fact that it's an 18-6 game right now. And Moffitt gets the steal. Dakota over to Cook, who takes a shot from inside, doesn't go. And now a fight for it after Dakota couldn't get to the bucket. And then Weidel gets to the bucket. And there's a push called against Cedar Crest. Man, nothing is going right for the Falcons right now.
Definitely not, Kasey. And I just want to give props to Hempfield. Major hustle points to both Weinholt and Moffitt.
Cedar Crest just cannot get anything going. And I mean anything. Here's a 3 from Cook that goes off the back of the rim, and it's ruled out at that point. Cook does not have a 3 on the night. Lauren Riggs does, though. As we mentioned, that buzzer beater at the end of the second quarter. Hempfield had a buzzer beater at the end of both quarters. There's Kamasta to Glover to Kamasta. Called, it's an off-ball foul there.
And Kasey, Cedar Crest urgently needs a bucket sooner or later, just so they can get back into the rhythm of the game.
You know, it's very interesting, and I almost compare it to like quicksand in a way, and the fact that Cedar Crest taken so many shots from 3 tonight that haven't gone, but that might now be their only way to get back in this game. That's an illegal screen call on Cedar Crest after the foul by Riggs to give it right back to the Knights.
It doesn't seem like anything's going right for Cedar Crest, Kasey.
Nothing. I mean, they've been blind from the scoreboard, what, the past 12, 13 minutes now? That's crazy. Second best offense in Section 1 has absolutely nothing over nearly half a game of basketball. Here's Dakota to Weinel. This is just stunning. And Hempfield, as I mentioned, they haven't been great offensively tonight. Otherwise, this would be a blowout by now. Here's Weinel, nice pass inside to Dakota. He looks out, finds Weinel wide open across court.
And silly double team there, Kasey. Dakota can easily just cut through and find the open man.
Yeah, no doubt. And I believe Just Weinel's now the leading scorer for the Knights with only 5, but Hempfield's distributed it well across the scoreboard tonight. Here's Shawley and cannot get Cedar Crest back on the board. I'm just shocked, Lance. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, this is crazy. It is 20-6. We're in the third quarter. And if it was a game against maybe, a lesser team as Weinhold takes a shot from 3 that bounces off the rim. That'd be one thing. But this is Cedar Crest. 3 out of the last 4 years, Section 1 champ, including having a good year this year, right in the league playoff race, and they just can't score. And they still can't score.
Yeah, Kasey, absolutely shocking. Cedar Crest, they need to dig down deep and really just push through this game.
I mean, Lance, this is their season. I mean, if they don't win tonight, they may not make any sort of playoffs. They might only have 3 games left. And maybe the only way they would get in is if they would win out. And after the first meeting with Township, they may not be able to do that, and that could just, it could all end for the Falcons in the matter of about 11 days, but there's a steal as Cook gets across. As we mentioned, about a week and a half of league play remaining. Charlie gonna try and get the deep ball going, can't do it. Weinhold boxes out, hold is called. That one is called again on Riggs. That is her 3rd of the game. A lot of fouls so far in this one. Brent Axe will come back in for Riggs. Try and get her out of foul trouble. Glover, Laney, to Shally. Cross, Laney. Finally gets Cedar Crest back on the board.
And Kasey, hopefully that bucket can get Cedar Crest back into this game. Hopefully they've now found their rhythm.
That's the only thing they can rely on at this point. Trying to eat into what was a 14-point deficit, now a 12-point deficit. Dakota pulls up, takes a mid-range shot. That doesn't go, and again hits the back of the rim, or the back of the backboard.
Well, Kasey, it seems like both offenses have started to slow down, so I think Cedar Crest needs to take advantage of this moment and sort of capture the lead.
Got to try something. Finding Kamasta wide open across the court. Here's Knapp trying to cut inside Weinhold. Can't do it. Laney from 3 hits the rim. Cedar Crest has got to be like, what, 1 for 10 now? I mean, this is crazy from 3. The best 3-point shooting team in Section 1 has done nothing tonight from beyond the arc. And as I mentioned, I mean, Hempfield hasn't done a lot offensively to inspire you, but what they've done defensively speaks for itself, and they've done just enough on the other side to squeak past for now and put themselves at a comfortable, what seems like an insurmountable 14-point margin as Axe with a nice take.
Well,
Here,
Kasey,
halfway through the 3rd.
with the offensive play of Cedar Crest today.
That was almost a 5-second call. That got the gymnasium pretty up in arms there. Go on, Lance.
Well, I was saying, with the offensive play of Cedar Crest so far, Hempfield has done just enough to just stay within the lead.
Yeah. Glover with the layup there. Cedar Crest starting to get the tiniest bit of offense going, but it's still 22-10. Dakota trying to make Glover miss. Now moves behind the arc. Top of the key, finds Weinhold, who hesitates. Now baseline drives, pass to Dakota, who will try to do the same. Blanketed by Glover, dishes to Weinhold, who jumps and gets the net. Alrighty. Just Weinhold having a heck of a game tonight, both offensively and defensively. But now another chance for the Falcons and a fight for the ball. That will go in the book as a travel on Knapp, but she had to fall down and get it. Hempfield's got it right back.
And Kasey, even though it's a home game for Cedar Crest, it's an electric environment for Hempfield so far.
Yeah, no doubt. Cook. Moffitt setting screen. Cook trying to work. Cook blanks from the arc tonight so far, beyond the arc I should say. Instead, finds her friend Moffitt in the net, but had 2 on her there, couldn't get it up. Deficit remains 14. Shally. Kamasta. Shally. Again to Laney. Looks, thinks. Hits Glover. Glover trying to drive. Instead, to Shally. Inside Kamasta. Laney thought and instead decides to drive. Hempfield is giving them the perimeter right now. They're not letting anything inside though. That's a nice pass to Glover, who is fouled. So Glover will come to the line, and Weinhold is called on the foul. So we'll see what Glover can do. Any semblance of a comeback for Cedar Crest. Relies on these shots. One of them comes. And Cedar Crest in mass exodus subbing in. Batcher, Hucker, and Wise all come in for Knapp, Chalet, and Kamasta.
Well, Kasey, to quote one of my favorite Justin Bieber lyrics, you can never say never for Cedar Crest. I believe they just need to take it one play, one drive at a time to slowly march back within this game.
I bet you've been holding that one back for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, Kasey.
24-11. Hempfield taking it up, and they are firmly in control right now of this Cedar Crest Falcons team. We'd have to delve into how exactly the tiebreakers work, so I can't officially say that Hempfield would lock up a league playoff berth tonight, even with a win, but in essence they would. And then they could even afford to give the game against Township as Moffett is fouled. They could maybe afford to lose that game and still come out as the Section 1 champs with an interesting crossover game against Elizabethtown coming up next Thursday, and then the season finale, senior night, against McCaskey at home. We'll come into the night at 3-14, so as we said, can't understate the significance of a potential win here for Hempfield. As Moffett does not make the first one. See how number 2 goes. And Moffett also doesn't get that one to go. You know, when Hempfield held Friday Charter to keep points early in the season, we're like, wow. But this is a completely different type of feeling here with this Cedar Crest team, with how good they are. Even though it's not over, as looks like another foul they're called, you have to admire the defensive effort from the Black Knights tonight. That's on Weinhold, and Laney will come to the line.
Well, Kasey, it looks like Laney is consistently leaning in to the Hempfield defenders to try to draw that foul.
And again, anything to try and cut into that lead, which they get 1 point back. Weinhold, as I mentioned, called with her 3rd foul. Laney again. And now Cedar Crest calls time with 1:02 to go in the 3rd quarter. Deficit is 11. You know, it's not insurmountable for Cedar Crest if they can just find their offense. What's the key right now? What is Jim Donmore telling these girls right now? Because we know this Cedar Crest team is capable of coming back and producing enough offense to come back from this 11-point lead. But how can they do it against this vaunted Iron Curtain-like Hempfield defense tonight?
Well, Kasey, clearly we've seen the three-pointer, which has worked for them all season long, has not worked tonight. Yeah. So they're going to have to be able to find another way to get into rhythm and claw their way back up from this deficit.
Well, as we mentioned, Cedar Crest, they played from behind the first time these two teams met for that entire second half. In fact, Hempfield took the lead midway, or actually early on in the second quarter, off an Autumn Cook's 3, and never relinquished it the rest of the game. Cedar Crest got it back to 1 by the final buzzer, but had to play from behind the entirety of that game. The deficit's been a little more overwhelming most of the night tonight. But as I mentioned, it's not quite over. I mean, Cedar Crest, if they can just get that offense going, it's not over. But obviously for Hempfield, the mentality's got to be, you got to stay on the gas here. Can't give them anything cheap and easy. Finish imposing your will right now if you're the Black Knights.
Yeah, of course, Kasey. And basketball is such a game of just runs and drives that as soon as Hempfield becomes complacent, that's when Cedar Crest jumps on the opportunity and takes back this game.
Axe looking to inbound. Going to move around and on the move, pass out to Dakota. Inside a minute, finds Axe, cross middle. McGarry, open on the other side, looking, trying to bounce back, finds Axe to Cook. And you hear from the passionate fan next to us, know the clock, and that clock is a factor, down to 39 seconds and counting. Hempfield can hold here. How many times am I going to make that? McGarry holds. Magali, you know. Molly McGarry holds. Back to Cook, back to Moffett. Back to Cook. Axe. Inside, setting up Moffett. Wide open, but she missed it. Moffett, a wide open layup, just couldn't take it. And those are again the things maybe Hempfield can't afford to give. As Shally doesn't get in. There's a fight. McGarry and Shally both fighting. Now it's Wise who is off the mark. And with 0.7 seconds to go, Hempfield will not have time to do anything meaningful here on this inbound pass.
And Kasey, missing easy layups like that definitely could hurt Hempfield later on.
24-13 is the score.
Keep it up, Lanc.
And we're back here. Apologies, having some technical issues here with our microphone equipment, trying to get Lance sorted out here. He'll jump back in when we can. But starting this fourth quarter here, Cedar Crest down by 11 with the ball. Glover trying to drive inside and gets taken to the ground there, fouled. You back, Lance?
And well, Kasey, looks like I'm back. Just experiencing some quick technical difficulties.
Yeah, it happens in this business.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, getting back to the game here, Hempfield, obviously, we've seen the defense all night long. It's been the story. If they can hold it, they're going to win this game. But if Cedar Crest can get some offense going, this could become a bit of could become a lot more interesting. So we'll just have to see what that strategy is. Wise hesitates, turns Cook around, instead flips to Hocker. Hocker back to Shally. And up top, and Hempfield, looks like there was a foul anyway, but Hempfield gets it back.
Well, Kasey, I certainly got a different feel from that last quarter from Cedar Crest.
Yeah.
Obviously now it feels like there is definitely more potential to grab back this game. Obviously after the first half, Cedar Crest just felt absolutely desolate.
There's some hope, no doubt, but if Hempfield can just finish this off, just keep playing the way they played all night, as Hocker got to Dakota, and now it's Patrick taking it away. 2-on-1 down there, and she tried to bounce it over to Wise and couldn't hit her. So a costly mistake there for Cedar Crest. They had 2-on-1 down there, and Batra just missed Nicole Wise. And Hempfield, another chance now.
Be smart with the ball.
As we have just elapsed 1 minute in this fourth quarter, 7 to go. Hempfield trying to hang on. It's not been a great performance tonight, especially on the offensive side. Defensively, that's been a whole different story for what they've been able to do. And you know that old saying, defense wins championships? Well, Hempfield's got the best defense in Section 1. They're sitting pretty to win the Section 1 title right now.
Definitely, Kasey. Hopefully we can see Hempfield's defense hold Cedar Crest to this deficit until the end of the buzzer.
Yeah, that's the hope. Shally trying to get the ball away from Cook, can't do it. Cook does a nice job, though, hanging on to the ball for that long. Hempfield chewing a lot of clock right now. As it's Moffett. Dakota. Looks, trying to direct a little bit. Can't get Moffitt open. Now she can. Moffitt has the ball stolen away again as it was Shally who got her hands on it. Betra there to clean up the mess. Now Shally taking it up. Out to Wise. And a travel on Wise. You can just tell by Cedar Crest's body language tonight. I mean, they look pretty defeated right now.
Definitely, Kasey, but you still have to have that winning mindset that, yes, you can claw back from this deficit.
That'll be the goal. Under 6 to go. Cook. Nice bounce tax. Who dribbles and bounces it in.
An absolutely beautiful play there from Hempfield, Kasey.
Well, you've seen that a couple times tonight. Hempfield, they can just catch you napping sometimes, find a lane right up court, and then have a 2-on-1 situation like that, and Axe makes it pay off. Or even just a 1-on-1 situation sometimes. Hempfield can win those. Here's Glover. Swarmed and traveling. Countless mistakes, countless errors for Cedar Crest tonight have been their poison.
And Kasey, we could see here that Cedar Crest's inexperience maybe makes them less composed in situations like these.
Lance, is that a carbon copy of the play we just saw? If Cook was taking it up the lane again, had Axe, he still decided to try and shoot it and didn't get it, but able to get her own rebound, and Hempfield now can regroup. And Cook and Weinelt got tied up there back around midcourt, but Weinelt trying to drive all the way to the net. Beautiful job by Jess Weinelt there, drawing the foul.
Kasey, I must say, Cedar Crest just looks so frustrated.
And if things haven't gone downhill enough for Cedar Crest, they're now in the bonus. That was a shooting foul regardless though, so it's 2. And Weinelt swishes it. She's got 8 now on the night, leading scorer for the Knights. Kind of funny, it hasn't been maybe the usual suspects that have led the scoreboard tonight. Weinelt's got 8, Axe has 6. But it's working.
No, Kasey, I think it's a test to just the depth of this Hempfield roster.
No doubt. That was the thing that I think gave this team hope. You know, this was a team that was trying to find their identity the first couple games of the season. The team we saw in the tip-off tournament is not the same team we're seeing right now.
Definitely.
That's on this 12-2, maybe about to be 13-2 run, as Kamasta can't connect. But this is a team that needed to find their identity. They've found it now. They know what they are. And you got to think, with the young core, the freshmen, and even the sophomores in there, this is a team that is building a lot more chemistry. And I'm not just talking off the field or off the court, because we know, I think we've seen this team has a lot of chemistry off the court. They're good friends off it. Autumn Cook, Lauren Moffitt, they're best buddies as freshmen, as there's a 2 by Laney. But that chemistry on the court, I think it's starting to develop now, and we're seeing it more and more for Hempfield. And with how they're playing defensively especially, that's what makes this team so potentially dangerous. And then they've got Jess Weinelt in there too.
Well, Kasey, you're completely right. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, this Hempfield team just didn't look the same as it does now.
No.
Now they're locked in, their chemistry is through the roof, and they're just playing well as a team.
And we talked about it, took some changes to the starting lineup, and quite frankly, removal of a lot of the seniors from that starting lineup. Sophie Herman and Molly McGarry both started opening night, don't start anymore. It's been those 2 freshmen, Moffitt and Cook in there. We've seen Brent Axe at times get starts. Lauren Riggs as well. Jess Weinelt's been back in the starting lineup. Funny, you know, as Dakota gets it there. Off the inbound pass, she'll pull up, take a shot, bounces off the rim. How about Axe getting the rebound? A lot of the games this season, we've seen Hempfield use a 8 or 9 person rotation. We've only seen 7 players in tonight for Hempfield. The 5 you see right now, plus McGarry and Cook.
Well, Kasey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, good point. Another mid-range shot from Dakota that goes off the rim, but there's Weinelt, who I think's got to be the MVP of this game for Hempfield.
Absolutely, no doubt. Weinelt has had a huge impact throughout the game, both offensively and defensively.
And that's becoming a theme for Weinelt as he punches it in trying to save it. Nothing but white shirts down there, but still. 29-15, Hempfield salting this one away. And this is going to be a tough loss for Cedar Crest. Not just because it's a loss, obviously, and the win on the number column, but just it's going to be demoralizing, I think, more than anything. And there's another 3 that doesn't go. Sound like a broken record saying that tonight.
And Kasey, the threes, we expected a lot of shots, and we have been given a lot of shots, but none of them have just been going in.
Yeah, it's crazy kind of how that's all played out in this game. That's a credit, though, to Hempfield and what they've done, locking down the paint tonight. I mean, they have not let the Falcons have anything inside. Wow, how about that pass? How about that pass inside Dakota?
And Dakota is too good to miss those easy ones inside,
Yeah.
Kasey.
She missed a very similar shot to that late in the game against Cedar Crest. Actually, it wasn't very similar to that, but missed an open layup. As Brooke Shutter, who had just come in, gets a bucket, but Dakota was going to make sure she didn't miss that one. Hempfield in no hurry here as they're on their way. Let's take a timeout. But they are on their way to a 13-4 overall record. As I mentioned, they'll have that crucial non-league game tomorrow against Governor Mifflin. That's going to be interesting to see. Governor Mifflin, great team in District 3, actually ahead of Hempfield in the District 3 power rankings. Hempfield was 8th coming into the night. I believe Governor Mifflin was about 5th off the top of my head. Somewhere, though, up at the top. That's going to be a tough game tomorrow on the road for Hempfield. And then we will be back on Tuesday, and we'll be at Township. That's going to be a game. If that first game is any indication, that's going to be a barn burner. What a grudge match that game was when those two teams met back on January 10th. And that game, Hempfield will have an opportunity to clinch the Section 1 title, their first in 15 years, if they can get a win on Tuesday. And that'll be huge.
Yeah, Kasey, in any game against Township is a match. It's a grunge match.
Oh, no
it's a
doubt.
boxing match down in the trenches.
Yeah, cannot wait. That matchup will be eye candy 4 days from now. But until then, Hempfield just trying to finish this one off. Coming down to 2 minutes to play. A dominating defensive performance. Not too bad offensively. Had its moments where it looked a little sloppy. Now Hempfield just running around in a track meet right now around the arc. 1:51 to go, and finally fouled.
In
Elizabeth
Kasey,
Knapp on the foul.
there's been plenty of times throughout this game that Cedar Crest has been given the opportunity to capitalize on Hempfield's mistakes, but they just haven't been able to take advantage.
Have not done it. Autumn Cook from the line. 50% shooter coming into the night, and she's got one there. Dominant performance, though. What a performance this is, and we'll have to see for Cedar Crest now. 3 games to go for them. That one doesn't go. Knapp gets the rebound. And Dakota got her mitts on it, trying to get it over the outstretched arms of Glover. Warren Moffitt will come in for Autumn Cook.
And Kasey, just telling from the body language of Cedar Crest, it seems they're just resigned to their fate at this point.
Well, scoreboard's a pretty clear indication of that. 32-17, not what the Falcons were hoping for. They'll have a rematch at Penn Manor. Remember, Penn Manor took Cedar Crest to double overtime. Another travel. We've seen that multiple times tonight. But they'll play at Penn Manor in a rematch of that game on Tuesday. They'll play McCaskey on Friday, next Friday night at McCaskey, and they'll finish their season likely having to beat Manheim Township at home, albeit, but having to beat Manheim Township in order to make league and district playoffs, most likely.
And Kasey, that game against Township is definitely going to be a tough one for them to win. They can do it, but it's definitely not a situation that you want to be going through to make leagues or section playoffs.
Got some substitutions in here for the Falcons. Mallory Deerdick and Mackenzie Kirkeslander are both in garbage time here as Cook puts that one through. Molly McGarry is getting ready to come in. We'll see Sophie Herman for the first time tonight. As Hempfield will salt this one away as that one doesn't go, but X gets the rebound. Dakota fouled. And I'm gonna pose the question for Cedar Crest. I think you just want to get out of here right now.
Yeah, no doubt. They just want this game to be speeding up and just
I understand why they're fouling. You see, Hempfield they're getting ready to sub everybody in. You're going to have Edmund come in. You're going to have HSD TV7's very own Ava Bear come in, who was part of an electrifying JV game. We saw the end of that one. Kira Mattis will come in as well, and a lot of the starters coming out, and they get a standing ovation here from the Cedar Crest crowd, the Hempfield faithful that have traveled. And sinking that one is Dakota. Kira Mattis will come in for her now. And it's all over but the crying pretty much in Lebanon tonight. What a defensive, dominant performance. Cedar Crest maybe just trying to get a little bit of something going here. And Herman gets a paw on it. Kirkeslager to Shutter. Takes a shot from 3. Again, doesn't connect. Different players, same result.
And at this point, Kasey versus Cedar Crest, just try to string together just some good drives so you have something, some momentum going into their game against Township.
Yeah, that's all you can really do at this point. Deerdick looking. Bear covering her. Knapp. Kirkeslager back to Knapp. Ori Edmonds staring her down. Wide open on the other side is Hocker. And then Shutter inside. And pushing foul there, looks like. That one's called on Ava Bear.
14. Bear for first and second.
Bear having to play 2 tonight, as is Kira Mattis, with the success that this varsity team has had. Coming down inside a minute. 47 seconds to go. Shutter, baseline drive. Kirkeslager finds Hocker. Molly McGarry on her. Hocker, step back 3. Again off the mark. Edmund for the rebound. Out to McGarry. Cedar Crest trying with their might, but really it's too little too late. Mattis looking, finds McGarry. Herman. Bear. Clock ticking, under 20 seconds. Bear, McGarry. I don't think Hempfield really has too many intentions of taking a shot at this point. Although Mattis will drive. Edmund will try to back in and get called for a travel with 6.9 seconds to go. Wow. Kirkeslager. Crest's gonna let it roll here. And McGarry thought about chasing it, decides not to. Hocker, step back. And maybe it's only fitting the night ends on a missed 3. For Cedar Crest, unfortunately, this was not the game they needed. It's just the game Hempfield needed, though. 34-17 victory over the Falcons. And in essence, Hempfield locks up a league playoff spot. They'll have a chance to chase their first league title in a dozen years. What a performance, especially defensively for the Black Knights, holding the number 2 offense in Section 1 to just 17 on the entire night. Lance, any final thoughts from you on this?
Well, Kasey, it seems after the 11-3 from, who was it? Laney or Glover?
Yeah,
on Cedar Crest?
Laney.
After that 3, it seemed they just still made it the rest of the game. They just couldn't find the rhythm, and Hempfield took advantage of that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Alrighty. Well, Hempfield will play a challenging game tomorrow, a non-league game against Governor Mifflin, but we will be back on Tuesday. We'll be in Township. Oh man, oh man, oh man, is that going to be a game. But until then, for our producer Sarah Vanderlaan, my colleague Lance Kim, I'm Kasey Kreider, saying so long from Cedar Crest. You've been watching Hempfield girls basketball on HSD TV7. The Knights keep on rolling, and they'll roll into the league playoffs as well in a few weeks. But for now, we say so long from Cedar Crest, where the Black Knights are victorious.